friends, and welcome back to our channel, or welcome if you're new here. In this video, we're going to talk about one of Utah's most historical and most affordable cities to live in 2024. We're going to give you all the dirt on Ogden, Utah, whether it's a good place to live, if it's good for families or singles, and we also may be a little bit biased because we ourselves live in Ogden.
So for sure stay tuned because we're gonna give you all the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything that you do need to know about making the move here to Ogden, Utah. These are gonna be your top 5 pros and cons to living here in Ogden.
If this is your first time to this channel and you want to know everything about living, eating, sleeping, working, and playing in northern Utah and cities like Ogden, then subscribe below and tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know about the current market here in northern Utah.
We are Sloan and Kim Peterson with the Peterson Group, and we've been in the real estate business for 10 years, and every day we help people just like you looking to buy, sell, invest, and relocate here to northern Utah and Ogden. Whether you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. All of our information is in that description box below, so we can help you make that smooth transition here to northern Utah in cities like Ogden. Let's go ahead and get into it right now.
Okay, so let's start off with the cons of living in Ogden. Now, this is a con for a lot of Utah, but the challenging winters. Since Ogden is a lot more close to the mountains than other cities might be, we see more snowfall and a bigger snow stick than other areas. There are also hilly roads on the east side of Ogden as opposed to other cities, so making sure you have 4-wheel or all-wheel drive is super important. Winters can be challenging in most of Utah, but there are definitely pockets like Ogden that tend to see more snow than others.
All right, so the next con that I want to talk about is going to be the air quality here in Ogden, Utah. And we've done a video about this in the past as well, so definitely check out our inversion video in our library there. So Ogden does tend to have, sometimes pretty poor air quality, especially in the winter months because we are shaped like a bowl, right? So we have this thing called an inversion where basically in a nutshell, the air just gets trapped like a vacuum down in the valley, and that makes for some pretty bad air quality. The good thing about this is when a storm comes in, it pushes all that out, and then it makes it so, it only lasts maybe a few days, 3 or 4 days or so. One thing I want to talk about though is that same bowl issue also can affect us in the summer if we get a forest fire. The forest fire doesn't even have to be local here. It could be all the way as far as Idaho or California, Las Vegas, Nevada, anywhere over there, and that will still push into our area and they get stuck in our bowl if we don't have storms for a little while. So most of the time we do have good air, but the times we don't, we're actually ranked as the top worst air in the whole world. So if you have issues, with asthma or anything like that, you might want to consider, making the move, or know during those weeks or so when that happens that you can stay inside or have an air humidifier, purifier, something like that that could help you out while you're dealing with that.
Yeah, so I actually suffer from a lot of sinus issues, and the bad air quality really does affect me. One thing I found that helps is just using a neti pot, particularly during those times where the air quality is really bad. That can be very helpful. So kind of like Sloan said, just being cognizant and aware during those little periods of times when the air is really bad to take actions against that. So another con is limited public transportation. The public transportation system in Ogden is not as extensive or reliable as in other larger cities, which could be a drawback for those who rely on public transit. Again, we've done a whole video just on this topic alone, and while public transportation isn't great in Utah in general, it's definitely better if you are in or around the Salt Lake City area.
All right, so the next con, and this con is really true for any bigger city, or honestly any city period these days, is going to be the higher crime rate that we do see in the area. While Ogden has many safe neighborhoods, it also has a few areas, that have higher crime rates than others, especially in terms of property crime, and to be honest, a little bit of drug use is a little bit higher in the downtown Ogden area as well. People always ask us, Sloan, is Ogden a safe area? And really sometimes it has bad stigma from people that don't live in the area. But honestly, Ogden is a great area. It does have a little bit of an edge to it, but to me, and of course, this is my own personal opinion, Ogden has never really scared me, right? So what you should do though is everyone, crime's gonna be relative to everybody that's going to live here, right? So what we'd always advise any of our clients or people that are considering moving to Ogden or really anywhere is to check out that neighborhood that you wanna move into, in the morning, morning, the afternoon, and at night, because that neighborhood is going to change quite substantially, from the morning to the nighttime. So we always like you guys to really just make your own determination and don't let other people's biases really reflect where you're thinking about living, because we all have different perspectives on what safety means.
And also, just kind of to piggyback off of that, do your own research, right? We have a lot of great resources that we can give you, but for example, something might have a high crime rate because of theft, and you might live next to a Walmart. So obviously it's all subjective, like Sloan said. Just do your research, and we are happy to help with any resources you might need if you're looking to make the move. Okay, and so the last con that we're going to talk about on our list today is educational challenges. Now, the educational system in Ogden has been criticized for below average performance and funding issues, which could be a concern for families, especially with school-age children. However, the city has really done a lot to help improve this con by providing free access to Montessori schools, and Ogden also has a ton of private schools that are on the more affordable side than a lot of other cities. It also provides grants and scholarships for some of these alternative schools, so the city is definitely trying to work on this particular con.
And then again, it's relative too, right? Because what a low rate here is in Ogden is still comparing a very good school system compared to, maybe a different state that already has that. Even the best is what our low is. So just keep that in mind too. All right, so now let's hop into the pros of living here in Ogden, Utah. Now, this is a pro that we talk about all the time when it comes to living here in Ogden, and that's the affordable cost of living here. So Ogden does offer a more affordable cost of living compared to all the other cities around here in northern Utah, especially when it comes to, like affordable housing. Ogden really has some of the most affordable housing, or Weber County in general, in northern Utah. And just to give you an example, Kim and I used to live in Salt Lake City for a long time, and when we decided to start investing in property, we decided to move out here in Ogden. And so our average price range out here, entry-level house, that doesn't need a ton of work, is probably gonna be around the $450,000 to $500,000 range, and that's gonna be a smaller house. In Salt Lake, you're probably going to be getting a fixer-upper for that, or more of a townhouse, and your starter range out there is probably gonna be $550,000 to $600,000, somewhere around there. Even that go into luxury too. A $1 million house in Salt Lake is going to be a basic mid-level house. We're out in Ogden, or North Ogden, Weber County area. You could get a dream house, even new construction luxury, for 1.2 million out here. So as you can see, cost of living, especially housing, is on the rise here in Ogden, but definitely cheaper than any of the other areas around here, in the northern Utah area.
So the next pro is one we've talked about in detail, both in previous pros and cons videos and in separate videos, but it's obviously the outdoor recreation and scenic views. Pretty much everywhere you live in Utah, you have great views, and you're always only 15 minutes away from a trail at most. But there is just something extra special about the Ogden Mountains. A lot of people have a trail virtually right in their backyard, or at least only 5 minutes away, and the views are unmatched. The city of Ogden is closer to its mountain range than almost any other city in Utah. And fun trivia fact, Ben Lomond, which is our mountain range here in North Ogden, is actually, yep, it's that one right behind us, and that is actually the mountain on Paramount's logo.
Isn't that pretty cool? When I found that, I was like, no way. And actually the guy that helped create Paramount actually lived in Ogden, Utah for quite a while. So he used that inspiration. Of course, they modified it a little bit, right? But they used that inspiration to create that logo, which is super cool. All right, so the next pro on our list is going to be all the rich Ogden history has to offer. So we love it when cities preserve their old historic type buildings and their history there. And Ogden's really done a really good job doing that. So we were obviously one of the first stops, or the biggest stops on the Continental Railroad. So that's how Ogden obtained its wealth, when it was, in the late, mid, 1800s to early 1900s, when all that was going on. So Ogden used to have one of the top millionaires per capita in the whole West Coast. And that's why if you actually visit downtown Ogden, we have a lot of these historical mansions. Some of them have been preserved really well. Some of them unfortunately have not and been turned into triplexes or fourplexes. But you'll see a lot of those Gothic, historic, Victorian mansions down there. We used to have a railroad cart that would run through there as well, which is really cool. And then of course, like we've talked about before, is our historic 25th Street. So if you drive down that, it looks like a little replica of, your Western towns from back in the early 1900s, late 1800s. And some of those have been, remodeled a little bit, but a lot of that is still original. We even have an old historic art district over there. And we actually will show you a little bit of video from that, paintings from all these local artists. It did catch fire a little, like, I don't remember if it was like the 1920s or somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But it did catch fire and then they had to rebuild it, but they still have a lot of the original brick in there. And then we have our Union Station. You can do tours of the old railroad and all that kind of stuff. But Ogden does have a lot of historic nature and a lot of historic history that's really cool. And we love just going and looking at that. We do have a video where we actually went over all the history in Ogden, and I'll drop that link just right above there, and you can go ahead and check that out a little bit too.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things personally about living in Ogden is even though it's a smaller city, we are rich in culture and art here in Ogden. And so we've got a ton of art museums, history museums, all of that kind of stuff that you might expect to find in a bigger city, but not necessarily a city like Ogden, but we do have all of that here in Ogden. All right, so the next pro is our great hospitals. In terms of medical care, Ogden houses multiple medical facilities that are amongst the best in the state. If you live anywhere in the city, you are within 5 to 10 minutes of some of the best medical care out there. We have both general doctors and specialists in pretty much every field housed in Ogden. So we really are lucky here that we can find just about anything we need, medically speaking, in our own city.
All right, and the last pro that we're gonna have here in Ogden is gonna be our diversity. So in terms of diversity, Ogden does probably have some of the most diversity that we see in the entire state, second to Salt Lake City, of course. And that's what a lot of people like about Ogden, right? As far as the national diversity though, we're probably still on the lower end, even here in Ogden. We helped a client just move here from Kansas City recently, and he commented how funny it was that Ogden was a little edgy and that almost everybody here had a lot of tattoos. So I guess, you know, Kim talked about we love art out here, so I guess that doesn't stop with putting art on our own bodies, and almost everyone I know out here in Ogden really does have some tattoos, even if they don't have like full sleeves and things like that. So tattoos and a little bit of edge is definitely something you're gonna find out here, you know, in Ogden. All right, so that wraps up updated pros and cons video here in the beautiful city of Ogden, and some place that we obviously like to call home, so it is very, you know, near and dear to us. We might be just a little bit biased here, but we do love Ogden being so close to the mountains, you know, local eateries, and just a lot of culture. So I wouldn't pick any other place to call home other than Ogden, you know, so that's it. That's what we love about it.
We hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Picking where you'll call home is an important decision. We would love to help you make that smooth transition to cities like Ogden. Come be our neighbor. If you're looking to purchase in the northern Utah area, we would love to help you out. Give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. And like always, we are keeping it real. Estate.